Hi, this is Zach Semke with Passive House Accelerator, and thanks for tuning in to this special bonus episode of the Passive House podcast, recorded at Passive House Network's 2023 conference in Denver, Colorado. And a big thank you to EnerSign for the support of the series. The interview you're about to hear was hosted by Mary James, our Director of Publications and co-host of the Passive House podcast.
Welcome to the Passive House Accelerator podcast at the Passive House Network Conference. So delighted that you are taking the time to talk with us.
So thank you for the invitation. I've been at PHI since 2016. And what I do at the moment mainly is coordinate the building certification team. But at PHI, we'll do a bit of everything, right? So I also work on tool development and some training and development of training materials and so things like that. And also, of course, conferences and activities like that.
So are you no longer working on, I know you were working on kind of overseeing, managing the project in Mexico with the developing the, the software for the Devi software and managing that project. Is that one all wrapped up?
Yeah, so it's interesting. The Passive House Institute has been working with the Mexican government for more than 10 years now. And Devi was one of the first projects. It was to develop a sort of simplified PHP that the Mexican developers could use to calculate energy efficiency. And then from that, we had a second project, which was together with a local bank called Sociedad Hipotecaria Federal, to try to get some developers to do some pilot projects. And out of those, we had around 30 buildings built houses built to the Passive House level. They also are. And that project ended around 2019. And then, more or less in parallel, we also worked on a second version of this Devi tool, again with the Mexican government, so that it would be a bit less simplified, so that they could calculate higher energy efficiency. And these projects are now ended. We have a small participation in other projects that have to do with retrofit in Mexico, so consultancy and so on. And we're also now working on another version of a simplified tool for a bank in Mexico who also wants to have their own system to evaluate housing projects so that they can give them specific products, so different loans or differentiated loans. And also because part of their goals are to report the CO2 emissions that they contribute to reduce, I guess you can say. So we're starting to work with them into how they can have energy efficiency factored into that, but also water savings, because in Mexico there's a huge problem with water. And then how can we put that into a grade that they can use to define whether our project is sustainable or not.
Mm-hmm. And I saw on the website that you also manage some kind of similar project in India, and I know nothing about that. I kind of knew about the Mexico project, but I didn't know anything about where in India.
In India, we were approached also by a government institution that wanted to, what they wanted to do is to put out a catalog of housing projects that people could literally just download and build them somewhere, right? So we worked together with an architectural firm called Abla Architects in India to develop different prototypes and then give proposals of how to achieve different energy efficiency levels. So Abla developed the designs themselves and then worked on the first efficiency levels, and we did the ones that were complying with Passive House. So that was a bit more of a theoretical project, because what we have out are like the design documents and the calculations with PHP. but we have not had the chance to actually build a passive house or the buildings that were designed. And it was a similar concept in that we had to do that analysis and those proposals for different climate zones in India, right? It's a gigantic country, so we had the chance to work in many different situations.
Right, but in both cases, I mean, yes, India has a range of climate types, but in both Mexico and in India tends to run hotter climates.
Yeah,
yes.
Very hot and very humid.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes. And also very dense, right? Like in both India and Mexico, houses are smaller and have more people in them. So we have to deal with that in very extreme conditions.
Yeah. But your main work that you're doing now is managing the certification team?
I wouldn't say the main, but it's one of my hats.
And can you talk about that? Because I'm curious to know, I've heard a little bit about the growth in Passive House in China. Like, is PHI certifying a lot of projects in Asia?
In Asia, in general, I think just by the scale of the projects in China, I would say yes, but not only PHI, right? There are other people working on projects in China, and we also have now at least 2 certifiers working locally, right? So there's a lot going on. There's also like this company, Passive House Dienstleistung, who also does a lot of projects there. So because the projects in China are quite large, then you have a lot of them. In Japan, there's also a lot of projects. We had also the first Taiwanese one, so there's a couple of them coming out. Also in Taiwan, and I don't want to miss any other one. Korea, there's also a certifier who has a couple of projects there already. I guess it depends on when we start with Asia, but yes, I guess with China, it's a major.
So today you gave a talk on kind of newer building typologies that are attaining Passive House. So in China, what type of buildings are being built to Passive House for the most part? Are they some of the newer typologies, or are they mostly housing? Or
I think most of them are housing, but there's definitely office buildings. One of the clinics that I showed at the end is also in China. There's a museum. There's a Passive House museum in China. I'm pretty sure I'm missing some typologies with the majority mostly housing, but there's also a lot of other projects going on.
And is your certification team, it must be, with the growth of all the different countries where Passive House projects are starting up, you must be growing your certification team, yes?
Yeah, I guess.
I certainly have heard at this conference about the need for new certifiers. Is that something that you feel at PHI?
Definitely, not only at PHI, also I think in the different countries, in the US and Canada and the UK, Passive House is just growing so fast that we need more professionals to do that. But I think not only certifiers, also Passive House designers, tradesperson, people that can actually, like the people that are actually doing the projects, right? We need them there. We need more, definitely, as fast as possible.
And you said you're working on training materials also?
Well, I sometimes help with some of the training materials that PHI develops. Yeah. But I think what we're definitely working on are the training materials for the additional skills that you can get. So, you have the Passive House designer and tradesperson, and then you can have site supervisor, the retrofit expert.
That's a retrofit expert, yeah.
And so on. So it's partly that, partly updating the materials that we already have so that they match with the changes in the criteria and in PHP, things like that.
So, Can you tell me a little more about the Retrofit Expert? How long that's been around? And
I must confess, I don't know a lot about it. I know it's been around for a couple of years, but no, I'm not very involved in that one.
Well, it's exciting development. I know in England that they have a whole course aimed at, retrofit specialty, which is pretty exciting because they are a different animal than new construction.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, there's a lot of buildings already there, right? And we need to make them energy efficient. So it's something that we have to tackle in every single country.
The other thing that I heard about at this conference is the Building Performance Assurance Council. Are you working with them, or is that also somebody else working with that?
The right person to talk about is Jessica, and I know they've been talking to her, but at the moment we are not involved in that initiative, right? So that's I know that there's been discussions, but PHI is not at the moment officially.
In the team that you're managing, are there in the certification team? Can you give us a sense of like what you work with on a daily basis? I mean, in managing the certifiers, are there issues that are coming up pretty regularly, or is it just a question of making sure that you're getting through the projects that you need to get through? Or
what I like a lot about PHI is that we all do a bit of everything, right? So I don't think I have a typical day or something that we typically do. What I know of is if we're mainly working on building certification, a lot of what we do is checking the projects themselves, looking at what's coming up. And then we have our regular meetings where we discuss things that happen. A lot of the things that we also do is the support for the external certifiers. So there's this forum where they can post questions for things that are not defined on the criteria, or there's something that is not clear for a project. And then this is how we find the things that we need to implement in the criteria or in the PHP manual mainly, right? Because it's impossible to just know about every single project. So we just get through the certifiers these things that are important for their projects. And another thing that is very important for that are the certifier circle. So there's one in North America, which is with the certifiers that are working in the region, and then that with the help of Ken actually, we have discussions about the technical things that are relevant for that region and how can we solve them. And the same happens in the UK. It's been happening for a while now. So that is also really helpful just to keep that communication in terms of what are the priorities, where do we have to go. Right? Like the last certifier scores, we had a lot of people from the UK because the certifier circle will let us know, okay, the demand is quite high here. We are not managing all the projects that we're getting. We need more people. And then we made an extra effort to reach out to whoever we knew could be part of the certifier group in the UK, and then make sure that they would be in the course.
Oh, that's great, because it does seem as if, based on what I've heard about for instance, the new legislation in the UK, in Scotland, that there's going to be more demand for more certifiers. So it's great you're trying to get ahead of that demand.
I mean, I don't know if ahead of it, but we definitely try to listen to our partners and see how we can solve the problems when they arise. But yes, upscaling is a word that I've been hearing a lot lately.
And I understand when you talk about partners, I assume you mean all the affiliate groups that you work with, right?
Yeah, right. Also, exactly. The affiliates are also a key partner locally that let us know what's going on and help us share knowledge of Passive House from other places and then bring them into their own country or region. Yes.
And ELAF is the newest affiliate group, I understand.
Yeah, the Latin American Passive House Institute.
Yeah. And are there certifiers that are working there?
I know that there are a couple of certifiers from Spain that are working with them, but we have yet to have a certifier that is locally in Latin America.
Well, maybe when demand starts rising.
Yeah. So ILAF is doing a very good job at promoting Passive House and getting people together in the region to see what we can do about it.
Great. Well, is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you want to bring up?
No, not really. Not that I can think of right now.
Okay, well, in that case, thank you very much for coming by and talking with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.